The 49ers are literally limping into their Thursday night matchup with division rival Los Angeles Rams at their home stadium in LA. That's Rob Stats Guerrera. I'm Jason Aponte. We're going to talk about all that and more right after this. I'm Jason Aponte. That's Rob Stats Guerrera. This is the Bully Ball Podcast on the Gold Standard Podcast Network, the fifth highest graded 49ers podcast according to PFF. Rob, how are you doing today, buddy?
I'm trying to get it up to at least number 3, but we're not there yet.
We're going to have a frank discussion about Pro Football Focus, in today's show, because I think that's on the mind of many 49ers fans, and I think it's time to really talk about it, in a way that is other than PFF's a bunch of nerds and it doesn't fit my narrative. Like, we're going to stay away from that and actually talk about what the flaws are in that. But first off, injury updates. No San Francisco 49er practice today because there was no practice today. So there's your good news. Ricky Pearsall did not practice in the Phantom practice. Brock Purdy did not practice in the Phantom practice. Neither did Juwan Jennings. Yetur Gross-Matos was limited in the Phantom practice. Nobody's practicing because the game is on Thursday, okay? So I want to make sure that we put that out there. But it is an estimated participation in a walkthrough, and if there was a practice, they would not have practiced. Rob, you sent me a text saying, I don't like what was said about Brock Purdy. Expand on that for me.
Well, first of all, I just want to point out that the Niners have more people that didn't participate in the practice than the Rams have on their entire injury report. So I will just continue to beg the 49ers, whoever leads the Rams training staff, double that, just keep offering them more money until they say, yes, they want to work for you, because the Rams almost never have injury problems and the 49ers always do. So please, please, please just go and steal that person. But no, I saw something on Twitter about Kyle talking about Brock, and when I saw the actual video, it was better. But basically, they said, is it a pain tolerance thing for Brock? Is that what's going to decide whether or not he plays? And Kyle was like, no, it's basically, can he protect himself, and can he be, 100%? Can he play at the best version of himself? So it wasn't as bad as it seemed.
I think it was something that I saw that come across on Twitter as well, too. The 49ers have one of the highest amounts of salary cap dollars on IR, and the Rams have the least amount of dollars of salary cap on IR. But yeah, look, obviously Brock Purdy said today, if there's a game today, I'm not going to play. Well, okay, and there wouldn't have been a game on Tuesday and Sunday. That doesn't really tell me anything. But, he said that it did feel better week 1. I think this is going to go down all the way to the wire. Interesting enough, Mac Jones fully participated in the Phantom practice today, but he's off the injury report, so whatever was going on with his knee is a non-issue. So if you were worried about Brock missing and Mac missing, it sounds like if Brock misses, you'll at least get Mac. Now, does that raise or lower your concerns, considering the fact that Mac will be in that pocket facing Jared Verse and Young and Poona Ford and that Rams defense against this offensive line? Or, are you just happy that you have somebody who's going to be stable back there, and he's got to get the ball out very fast this week, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's the question. Would you rather play a less than 100% Brock, whatever you think that is, whatever percentage you want to put on it, or a pretty much 100%, at least according to the 49ers, Mac Jones?
Well, I will say this. If anybody wants any sort of solace, here it is. The only team that is more injured than the San Francisco 49ers is my sleeper Twitter Dynasty League, and somehow we pulled out a win this week. We're actually 3-1, just like the 49ers. So just like the 49ers, just like my team on Sleeper, we're actually willing ourselves to victory. Shout out to Romeo Dobbs, 3 touchdowns on Sunday. Never a doubt, baby. Always had him in my lineup. But yeah, Sleeper is the only place that you guys should be using for fantasy football. Again, the NFL season's here, which means you now have a chance at 1,000 times your cash on daily fantasy football. Pick on stats like touchdowns, passing yards, receiving yards, fantasy points, and more for up to 1,000 times payout on Sleeper. Get your picks right, and you could win big. Use promo code GSP, and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in 25 states. Shout out to Steph Sanchez, who, couldn't make it to the show today, but wanted me to pat myself on the back because she sent me a fantasy football question and I absolutely knocked it out of the park for her in a league that obviously I'm not in, because why would I give her advice in a league that I'm competing against her in?
Well, good for you. I had Jordan Love on my bench and played Justin Herbert this week. So
Smooth. But hey, look, it happens. And there's always next week. But you can't keep saying that. And that's the best way to tie it back to the 49ers, I guess, right? If we're talking about, what is it we're going to call it? Scheme or screwed? Not panic or patience?
go with
4 weeks is a healthy sample size. 1 week is a blip. 2 weeks trend. 4 weeks in a 17 game season. That's a quarter of your NFL season. So we have trends. We've got 2 games Brock Purdy started, 2 games Mac Jones has started. Mac is 2-0, Brock is 1-1. And this is something that everybody is talking about. And we're going to have a very honest, frank, level-headed discussion about this. Rob, do you agree on that?
Well, I make no promises about how level-headed I'll be.
Attaboy, and never a doubt on that either. But scheme or screwed, Brock Purdy's play at quarterback. Look at the numbers on the screen, and for the audio listeners, 586 yards for Brock, 563 for Mac in the same amount of games, 65% completion percentage for Brock, 66% for Mac Jones, 4 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. If you guys are good with ratios, that's a 1-to-1 ratio of touchdowns to interceptions for Brock Purdy, 4 touchdowns for Mac Jones, 1 interception for Jones, 1 fumble, 2 fumbles for Mac Jones, 4 sacks for Mac, 2 for Brock, 3 red zone touchdowns in 8 possessions, 3 red zone touchdowns in 6 possessions for Mac Jones, Brock Purdy on the first one. So, Rob, I'll let you start with this, and then we'll just go from there. Scheme or screwed, Brock Purdy as the franchise quarterback.
I would like to say that this could be fixed with scheme, or that this will be lessened by the scheme. But when it comes to Brock, I'm not so sure, Jay. I think that this is who Brock Purdy is. He has had to be Superman in his career at Iowa State. He had to put on the cape at times, and he is used to playing that way. And I think when he got in 2022, he was so scared basically to not screw it up. He was like, I'm just going to do exactly what they say. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know NFL defenses. I'm going to do exactly what Kyle says. And he did. And he started to play well. And he also, in that time, got more comfortable with NFL defenses, adjusted to the speed of the game. And so he lost that sort of fear, and he started to think like, yeah, I can do some things out here. I can put the Superman cape on now because I've been in the league for so long. And I just think that that's who he is. And I don't know that we can ever get this out of him. We just have to hope that he goes nuts and has like a year like Stafford had a couple years ago where he throws 40 touchdowns so that his 16 interceptions don't matter as much.
You know, and when you talk about sample size, this is like over like the last 10 games. But we do have to contextualize, as we do with every single quarterback, what goes on. Last season, the San Francisco 49ers absolutely banged up. This season, 49ers are absolutely banged up. And, you know, by the way, Kendrick Bourne's not good at football. Jawan Jennings is really working through some stuff right now. Ricky Pearsall is also injured. We don't know if those guys are going to play. Demarcus Robinson, thanks for coming back and for your one catch. You know, like, it's all of these things need to be contextualized. Having said that, you can objectively look at this last game with Brock Purdy and say he played poorly in this game. And I think he'll tell you that, and I think he did tell you that. But that doesn't mean that you need to make a grand sweeping statement about what's going on and what's going to be moving forward for him, right? I do think there is a little bit of this is who Brock is in terms of the throws that he makes at times where you're just like, hey, what was that? But the problem is this. And the talk about Purdy and playing in structure and him even admitting that in the offseason of, I need to, you know, look, we applaud the singles and doubles that, you know, the doubles that he turns from singles, right? We applaud those when they work. When they don't, the free money's there. And that's the type of stuff that I I'm going off vibes just on based on the person that I believe Kyle Shanahan to be, very rigid, very listen to me and this and that. When they get in that film room and they show that interception to Christian McCaffrey, which he throws up and it bounces off his hand and ends as an interception, there's free money on the field on a rollout. That play is designed to go to one of those two checkdowns right there. And on first down, you have to put the ball in the hands and get positive yardage, especially when you're not running the football. Pressing the issue got you that interception. Now, if it's a catch, we're all going to sit there and say, oh my God, what a throw. Hell yeah. At times, yes, we will feel like that. But when it doesn't work and there's free money on the field to be had, that's the part where we start to say, this is the good, this is the bad. Again, part of who Purdy is, for sure, he's acknowledged it himself in the offseason, so you don't have to, I'm not making shit up, right? Like, this is something he's absolutely said. I'm not making any of this up. But again, you take the good with the bad. I still believe that a 100% fully healthy Brock Purdy is better for the 49ers offense than a 100% fully healthy Mac Jones.
I would agree with that. I would 100% Brock, I think, is better than Mac. But here's the thing with Brock. You cannot throw high if you're throwing over the middle. You can't, because it's going to get tipped up in the air, and that's where all the people are. So if it does get tipped up, those throws generally don't hit the ground. He was consistently high, whether it was the toe or whether it was just something else. You have to fix that. Miss low, miss wide, it's something, but you can't live high over the middle. You're going to get receivers more likely to get hurt, and you're going to get tipped passes and interceptions. He's got to fix that. If he plays this week, he's got to be able to throw it the right way.
R. Jeffrey says, I watched that throw to Kendrick Bourne was perfect, and if it was any other quarterback, you'd admit it. I just said Kendrick Bourne is bad at football.
Yeah, that throw was perfect. Absolutely, that one was. No question about it. The one to McCaffrey that got picked wasn't perfect. The one that Jennings caught over the middle wasn't perfect, but Jennings made a catch. Demarcus Robinson made a leaping fingertip grab over the middle of the field because that throw was high. Like, again, people, we don't have to mention every good thing Brock Purdy has ever done every time we want to criticize him. You don't always have to mention that. I don't understand why people are so protective of Brock Purdy. Well, you're criticizing him, but you didn't mention who was in the lineup, or you didn't mention that this was dropped, or you didn't mention the weather, or you didn't mention the injuries. We don't have to do that for any other player, right? When I say Trent Williams has not been as good this year, you don't say, well, he's banged up. Well, who was he playing with? He was playing with Connor Colby. No one does that with any other player. But with Brock Purdy, you got to take him out for an ice cream cone every time you want to criticize it.
Man, that was a good rant. I got to say, I'm gonna give that one 8.7 out of 10. I think you could have taken it a little bit higher, but I like that. Look, again, 100% fully healthy Brock Purdy, 100% fully healthy Mac Jones. I don't think it's very close. But if we're talking about what the strengths of both players are, perhaps it might be more beneficial against this pass rush to throw Mac Jones out there so he can get the ball out faster, which he has been doing. There's definitely times where Brock is trying to make a play. That's why I think the only other thing that has been beating people's ass on Twitter this week more than PFF grades is time to throw. That metric. It is beating people's ass, and people are not able to contextualize what that means. When you see 3.34 whatever time to throw, you're saying, oh, he's running around making a play. Doesn't that make sense? No. There's nobody that should have that much time to throw. This is the NFL. You need to get the ball out. Mac does that. Brock hasn't been. But the same way that I'm talking about strengths and highlights, Purdy's legs. Now, if Purdy doesn't have his legs, now we've got a really big problem, right? Because that's the thing that we always look at with Brock and say, I know what he brings to this offense more than Mac Jones, and it's his legs. And that's why people are afraid to send out Mac Jones as a statue against that pass rush. However, Mac offsets that by getting the ball out fast, understanding where he needs to go with the ball. He'll take a sack, but he's going to lay down and get right down. He's not going to run around and try to get like strip sacked or anything like that, right? But with Brock, the thing that we highlight and we enjoy is him after the play and him getting out of the pocket. But if he's not able to do that, the deficiencies in the pocket play at times that you've seen over these 10 games are going to be exacerbated and highlighted.
I was sort of hoping that maybe we would get a Brock Purdy that was going to take more of the checkdowns on Sunday, because I thought he's going to be limited with the scrambling. So maybe that in his head, that will sort of force him to be like, you know what, I can't run. I can't do all the things and be Superman. So I got to just get the ball out of my hands. Didn't really play out that way. He did have one really nice scramble, which I love to see, but you could tell that wasn't really in the cards for him, especially because John Lynch said on the radio today that he thinks that Brock may have re-aggravated the injury on that scramble, which is why you didn't really see him run at all pretty much after that.
Yeah, and we got a donation from Roadhog 228. He says, what's the line between high and putting it where your receiver has a chance to go up for it? The two get convoluted, so it comes off nitpicky. Not when you get Jawan Jennings absolutely crushed. Not when, Demarcus Robinson gets a lick. Not when the ball is so high that you think that Christian McCaffrey is as tall as George Kittle. That's why. That's not nitpicky at all. You literally got Jawan Jennings crushed. That's not making him that, again, hospital balls. How many times, and 49er fans, we should all be experts in what a hospital ball is, right? Rob, I'll pass it to you. You know exactly who I'm talking about.
Your boy, Ride Me 10, Jimmy Garoppolo.
Revenge game for Jimmy Garoppolo.
That's right.
We're not even talking about that, right? We're not talking about vibes. I do think, again, on first down, on that play to Christian McCaffrey, there are two checkdowns right in front of you that would have resulted in a positive play, whether it's 2 yards, whether it's 3 yards, whether somebody breaks the tackle at 7. Put the offense in a good spot to continue to roll. What you can't have on first down are back-breaking interceptions. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars have an incredible defense. I was very much like, hey, they kind of just beat up on some other teams. But when you're throwing the ball right into somebody's hands, when you're throwing it over and you're putting it in harm's way when it gets tipped, they are going to be opportunistic. That interception that everyone is wringing their hands over, that was tipped at the line, that was going to be intercepted regardless. It just would have been intercepted quicker. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I agree. Like, people, it's almost like they're looking for an excuse to let Brock off the hook, right? Like, oh, it was tipped. Well, yeah, if it wasn't tipped, the guy was still drifting right back into the zone. And I get it. It's hard, right? Because Brock has made a living making a lot of those throws. I just think that kind of throw, a riskier throw like that in that situation, was not required, right? It's different if there's 30 seconds left and you're out of timeouts and you need a field goal, right? And you're trying to move the ball down the field. Then it's time where, you can't always have the perfect situation where you make a throw. But that wasn't the situation in that moment. And that was the frustrating part. You didn't need to attempt that kind of a risky throw in that moment. And I would, you hope that a quarterback that's played as much as Brock has now would start to mature in that way and realize, yeah, maybe this is in my bag some of the time, but I don't need to try to attempt it, right? Sometimes you just need to punch out of the woods if you're on the golf course. You don't need to try to hit it through the 2 trees 10 yards in front of you to run it up to the green. Just pitch out of trouble and live to play another swing, live to play another down. And Brock just does not seem to have made that adjustment yet.
Trying to reach the green from here, shooter, that's not possible.
Happy Gilmore, 7 feet. Less than 2 hours ago.
And look, the reason I despise screenshots of plays on Twitter is because when you put together the formula of the arm that Brock Purdy has, how fast the window is closing, how those 3 Jaguars defenders are baiting you, hoping that you throw the football there so they can have an opportunity to knock that ball down. So when people stop the throw and they stop the screenshot and they're like, look, there was space. That's not space in the NFL. That's going to get batted down or intercepted. And the tip just made it an even more interceptable ball. By the way, Devin Lloyd, I don't know what we did to you. You were incredible in this game, man. What did the 49ers do to Devin Lloyd that made him turn into this all-pro linebacker all of a sudden? But look, bottom line about Brock Purdy and Mac Jones is this. At this point in the season, it could be that Mac Jones, while less talented than Brock Purdy, could be the right fix for what's ailing this offensive line, what's ailing this offense. Now, he might be throwing footballs to Sourdough Sam. By the time Thursday comes around, we'll figure out who the hell's going to be there at wide receiver. But, it doesn't mean that because you want Mac to start in this game, considering the options, and I always say this, styles make fight, it doesn't mean that you believe that Mac needs to start over Brock, if that makes sense.
At this point, he might be thrown to sour death, Sam.
Oh, nice. Patrick, man, he better get out there. He's in Tokyo loafing it right now. All right. What's the next topic? Hit me with it, Rob. Scheme or screwed? Trent Williams play at left tackle. This is a real discussion, and this is something we do have to talk about. And this is where we'll start the PFF discourse. So let me tell you, and I've explained this on my channel before, right? PFF, because I used to work as a data collector for PFF. So I got a peek behind the curtain of the grading system and the process. And I'll keep this very, very short. Essentially, what my job is to watch every single play and label each player at their position. If you're on the edge, LEO. If you're on the right edge, REO. Defensive tackle, cornerback, safety, all of those things. I have to do all that to send to the graders. The graders, they watch every single play, and they grade each play on a -2 to +2 scale. Meaning, if you throw an interception in the red zone, that is essentially the worst play you could do, -2 on that play. A 0 could just be a nothing play, where maybe the ball doesn't go your way. 2 is like the fucking helmet catch, the David Tyree helmet catch, right? Like this, I'm sorry for the cursing, but so I want to give you that insight because I want you to understand that that's how these grades happen. Now, the second thing I want to point out is these grades are absolutely 155% subjective. And there is a clip that I sent to Rob, and it was Steve Spagnuolo talking about what I've said many times, talking about PFF and why they have very valuable metrics, but the grades, although when they don't line up with, what you see, like, if they don't fit my narrative, then I don't like it. But the grades are not end-all, be-all. And I want you to listen to what Steve Spagnuolo says here.
What grades are you using?
PFF is what I'm looking at right now.
That's what everybody uses. The only thing, Chris Collinsworth, I think he's a good dude, and he's involved in that company. I don't know how you put a grade on somebody when you don't know actually what their assignment was or what they were being told. So I don't know. It's like from our standpoint, I thought Chris in this particular game had a real big effect on the game. They obviously found ways to double him, whether it was two linemen, the running back at times was chipping inside, which you don't see a lot because that was the Chris Jones effect. A number of times that he didn't get there, but I think he forced a quick throw or step up. So, from my standpoint, I don't remember what Chris's actual grade was, but I know that at the end of the game, I thought the guys up front, Chris included, had a big effect on the way things went.
You mentioned.
Okay, you can stop it right there, Rob, because he's just going to basically reiterate. So, to sum it all up, the grades are subjective, and then they're pooled together when they pass them all together from when they're done grading it to the board of former scouts and everybody, and they put that score together, and that's how you get the score. Subjective. But what Steve Spagnuolo says at the end is really what I want you guys to leave with, and this is how we'll get into the Trent Williams discussion. It's subjective, and no NFL team is using a PFF NFL grade as a way to grade their players and their play. They have an internal grading system because they understand exactly what each player's responsibility is on each play because of the play call, because of what's designed, and because of what's being coached. I'll pass it to you, Rob. You can start with the Trent Williams thing because it is something that we do need to talk about in the big year of 2025.
I'm not an offensive line expert. I don't pretend to be an offensive line expert.
Not many are.
Right. But I do watch the games, and I have been watching the games now for 35 years. I think it's safe to say Trent Williams is not the elite Trent Williams that he has always been.
Correct.
He's still very good.
Yes.
That he's just not what he was. Most people aren't. He was a Hall of Fame, walk into the Hall of Fame when he was done playing left tackle. He's a little banged up right now. He's 37 or whatever he is. I don't think he's quite at that level anymore. I think that is a reasonable take about Trent Williams.
Yes. Here's another reasonable take on this is you as fans, don't let anybody gaslight you with PFF grades and EPA. When someone sends out a tweet or they show that Jake Brendel is the number 5 pass blocking, center and run blocking center in the league, don't let that gaslight you. You watch the games, right? We're not all offensive line experts, but you know that that's not true. The 49ers know that's not true. Even no matter when they go to the press conference and they say, we think he's one of the best centers in the league. So don't get gaslit. If you have an opinion because you watched the game, trust your gut. Don't let a PFF grade change to what you saw with your eyes. PFF grades should line up with what you've seen on the field, not tell you a different story than what you watched. This is the problem with analytics. Analytics have to line up with the tape. Analytics have to line up with the eye test. PFF has very, very, very useful analytics. But the grades, they're not the end-all be-all. And don't let anybody gaslight you. If you watched the game and you saw that an offensive lineman was getting his ass whipped, but he's getting a 75 grade and he's the highest, and that can't change what you saw. So I just want to reiterate to the fans. Watch the games and just trust your own eyes, because the analytics can really change your mind and all of a sudden make you think that you didn't see what you saw. As long as you watch the games and as long as you watched intently, because I did have somebody say that Darrell Luter was getting his ass beat all over the field. I was like, dude, I watched the tape. He literally had 2 targets. They never threw the football at him. I was like, what game were we watching that Darrell Luter was just getting his ass beat? I was like, they never threw the football at him. Tanisha says, I used the eye test during the game. Screw PFF and any of those other rankings. My eyes will not deceive me. Again, trust yourself. Don't be gaslit. Bottom line, Trent Williams is still very good. Trent Williams would be the best offensive lineman on a few teams. Many teams, I would say. But he's not. We're just not used to watching him get whipped like that. We're not used to watching him, lose these reps. And he's 38. It happens. It's just the problem is that the 49ers set their watch to 38-year-old Trent playing like 31-year-old Trent. And it just happened to happen this season. But Trent's still good. He's just not, Hall of Fame elite Trent.
Should we move on to the next one?
Let's do it.
All right.
Scheme or screwed the pass rush without Nick Bosa. So in the game before against Arizona, Arizona was down a few offensive linemen. We want to make sure that we highlight that, because if we're going to talk about injuries on the 49ers side and why they may be struggling, then you have to give context to all of those things. And when Nick Bosa was on the field against Arizona, it's his normal self, pressuring the quarterback. Bryce Huff was incredible again, right? The Jaguars have a very good offensive line. Trevor Lawrence was baking cakes back there. Like, my man made a phone call. He's, and he's looking around like, they have a good offensive line. The 49ers are going to have games like that where they're not going to get there with 4. They're not able to beat that Jaguars offensive line with 4. It's not going to happen. So, for me, I think there's going to be games like this. I think there's going to be games where sometimes we're just like, damn, where's the pass rush? When you face better offensive linemen. You know why that wasn't a problem before? Because Nick Bosa is really, really good and a top 3 impactful defensive lineman in the league. That's why they pay him so much. That's why he's a former defensive player of the year. We knew this wasn't going to be a 1-for-1 replacement. There's going to be games like this. I'm not all the way panicked because I think this is a one-off. I do think this game was a bad matchup for their offensive line and the 49ers defensive line. I do think that there's going to be games where, guys are going crazy and you're just like, man, look at Saleh scheming things up. I'm not panicked on this one, but I want to give context to why these games may happen going all the way through the season, and you'll probably see them more and more. By the way, one more thing. The 49ers lost the game. They're probably going to lose a few more. So let's settle down and let's not give up on the season because the 49ers didn't go undefeated. I know we joke a lot about that, but I can promise you they're probably going to lose a few more games this season. So let's make sure that we, stay in line. And I understand losses are tough, and this was a frustrating one, but they're definitely going to lose more games.
Well, that's for 100%. But on
Yeah.
this specific question, I think a lot of this can be at least helped with scheme. I don't think they are screwed. And this really surprised me, Jay, coming out of this game. Nick Wagner had the tweet. The Niners only blitzed 6 times in the whole game. Just a 19% blitz rate. It was their lowest of the year. Of course, their pressure was so low. Of course, they didn't get sacks and quarterback hits in the game. They had a way worse defensive line without Nick Bosa and blitzed way less. I was stunned that Robert Saleh did not dial up more blitzes. I don't know why. I wish somebody asked him instead of 50,000 questions in the press conference about Liam Cohen, like, hey, Robert Saleh, why didn't you blitz without your best pass rusher? Because that's the only way you could make up for the loss of Nick Bosa is by sending extra rushers because they don't have anybody else in the D-line that can really win one-on-one. So I can't believe he didn't blitz more. I expect him to blitz more against the Rams, but I think this can be helped with scheme.
So this one doesn't that stat doesn't bother me nearly as much, and I'm gonna explain why. 17 of the Jaguars' points came in the second quarter when the 49ers turned it over, and they put them in horrible spots on defense. In the second half, the Jaguars dropped back 4 times, 5 times. So there's no chance to blitz there. And the 49ers defense was getting off the field. They only allowed 9 points in the third quarter. They allowed none in the fourth. So the adjustments weren't necessarily needed to be had on the pass rush because the Jaguars just weren't passing at the end of this game. But it was against the run defense. And the run, they were stopping the run finally. You know, Etienne had that long run, and they were knocking that shit off. But when you're out there over and over and you keep giving a team offense, it's going to be a problem. So I think that the way to contextualize that is the 49ers weren't exactly in spots to blitz because they weren't throwing the football. The Jaguars, especially in the second half. And they stopped everything on defense. And also, you know, and I'm glad that Strawberry Reacts brought this up. They allowed a touchdown on special teams as well, too.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, again, I think the defense was fine. I know that you want to see them sack Trevor Lawrence, but it could have been 19 points, whatever it was, right? You know, just off that. But so many of those points given up by the defense were on the heels of a turnover in which the defense had to jump right back on the field. Again, complementary football. One hand washes the other. Both hands wash the face. And that's another problem. We have to contextualize this whole game with the fact that the offense put the defense in bad spots, and the defense bailed out the 49ers over and over and over again in this one.
100%. And it was much like last year. It felt like that happened where the defense would have a crazy game, but maybe, you know, they would potentially give the 49ers a chance to get back in it. And it was always the defense doing more to help out the offense than the other way around. And we went into this year thinking that the offense was going to be the unit that had to help the defense more. And immediately right off the bat, it was like, nope, the defense is really good. It's the offense that has to pick it up. And they need to pick it up this week. They need to pick it up this week.
They sure do. I mean, at the end of the show, I'll give you my feelings overall on this game on Thursday because I've got a funny way that I'm looking at this one. And you know, you might be shocked, but I think I'm a little bit more optimistic about this game, and I will talk about why in a little bit. But what's the next one we got here, Rob?
Scheme or screwed? The problem scoring in the red zone.
This is a big problem. Here's why. Yes, you miss Brandon Ayuk. Yes, you miss George Kittle. Yes, you know, you would hope that Juwan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall can offset those losses. But the overarching thought about the red zone struggles was Christian McCaffrey is going to find a way to solve all those things and run the football in and be that guy. Now, he scored touchdowns. He did again. But it's still not good. And it's a problem. And in this league, you don't win by kicking field goals. You just don't. And for someone like Kyle Shanahan, who I think the world of, for your red zone offense to struggle, when you, not effortlessly, because everything does seem a little bit hard on offense in between the 20s, you still move the football. You're still moving the football. It just doesn't look as easy as it does in past years. Yes. I am far more concerned about this than anything because this is now almost a 2-year trend. regardless of who's on the field. And we all thought the magic elixir was Christian McCaffrey's going to be back, and they're going to find a way to just score more touchdowns. They just have not through 4 games. They just haven't.
This is a problem. It's been a problem with Kyle Shanahan. Historically, throughout his offenses, they are better at moving the ball up and down the fields and gaining yards than they are at actually gaining points into the end zone. And I think it's not just like a Kyle scheme problem. Sometimes it's Kyle's play calling. Sometimes Brock Purdy has Braden Willis open over the middle of the field for a touchdown, and he doesn't let it rip. Sometimes Kyle dials up the perfect play to Christian McCaffrey on a screen pass, and Tonjes and Kendrick Bourne don't know who to block, so the defender they're supposed to block splits them in the middle and takes down Christian McCaffrey. It's not one thing. It's a variety of problems and breakdowns in the red zone. That's why they can't get it fixed. I guarantee if it was just one thing, they'd fix it and they'd figure it out. The problem is every time they plug one leak, another leak springs somewhere else, and they can't stop the water from crashing in.
Yep, absolutely. If it's a missed block on the offensive line, the next time it's a missed block by a tight end. If it's a missed block by a tight end, if it's not a missed block by a tight end, it's a missed block by a wide receiver. If it's not any of those things, sometimes Christian McCaffrey's choosing the wrong spot to go run the football. All of these things are true. Here's the problem, though. Does it make you feel better if it was just one thing?
Yeah, maybe, because that would mean everything else was good. I don't know.
I don't care what it is. I don't care how many things it is. It just is. And I don't like that at all. I don't care. It doesn't make me feel better if I can just say, hey, if they shore up the run blocking, everything's going to be fine. That doesn't make me feel better because we're 4 weeks in and the run blocking is supposed to be something that is absolutely their strength. Turns out they're better pass protectors than they ever were. It's Freaky Friday for the offensive line. God, that I dated myself with that one. JCG 1987 with the donation. Defense doesn't need to account for Kittle, BA, Ricky, and Juwan. It's 4 to 6 extra players available to blitz when you have a bottom 10 O-line. Red zone is gone. They're not blitzing in the red zone. They're just run defending. That's the thing. They're just run defending, and they're just playing. There's nothing that they're in the red zone. They're all of a sudden saying, "Let's blitz them." This is how they're run defending, and it's working. And you know what's not working? Sometimes the play calling, sometimes the blocking, sometimes the running. Doesn't matter what it is. It's always something, and that's what it's been. You have to be completely objective with all this. I know that it probably might make some people feel better if there was just one thing that you could look at and say, that's it, we can fix it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not. And it hasn't been. Now, if you want your sliver of optimism, here it is, and I will give it to you. George Kittle should be back soon. Maybe Juwan Jennings gets a little bit more healthy. I think that Jake Tonjes has done a really good job, and he had a career high in everything because he never had any catches before this season. Career high in everything this past week. He's fine. Yes. He actually did a good job blocking too. If you watch the tape, you know who doesn't block? Luke Farrell.
What the hell? That's your only job, dude. We brought you here to block, and he can't do it.
So here's your sliver of optimism. Maybe it is as simple as George Kittle, who, with Brock Purdy, has become the red zone target that we all have been begging for him to be. Maybe. Mm-hmm. Maybe Juwan Jennings starts to feel a little bit better. Maybe Ricky Pearsall doesn't miss many games. Maybe there's a time when the San Francisco 49ers offense has every single weapon at its disposal that they were supposed to have. I don't think so either, Rob. But maybe that helps, But unfortunately right now, it's not one thing. It's everything. And it's everything at different times. Everything at all at once, like that awful movie. Like
everything everywhere all at once.
Yeah. No, I didn't. I thought that was very overrated. I can't believe that movie was an Oscar winner. But we'll have a discussion about that later. All right. What's next? All right. Scheme or screwed. Injuries to every damn receiver on the roster. It feels like whatever deal we have with the injury goblin requires a sacrifice to receive someone back.
Right.
I need to rob Peter to pay Paul. I need to cut my nose off to spite my face. I will give you Juwan Jennings back, but I will need to take Ricky Pearsall. I don't know, man. I really don't know what to say about this. Just when Ricky Pearsall was breaking out, and if you want to know, like, again, you want one reason why there's all injuries. I think it's everything. There's, you invest in players that can eventually get injured. Whatever. You're not stretching, so that's why your shoulder gets broken, which is ridiculous, by the way. I mean, but this is how you know they're snake bitten. Ricky Pearsall's knee injury that he was dealing with before that week wasn't even the knee that he hurt this week. Holy Santa Claus. Like, I don't know what to say, Rob. Go.
Think about that. So just think about what happened. Ricky Pearsall's healthy knee was damaged because he tried to make a toe tap catch on the sideline and he just fell on it. Like, that's it. That's how it happened. You can't make this stuff up. It wasn't like when Brandon Ayuk got hurt and somebody twisted his knee into a pretzel. Pearsall was trying to make a toe tap grab and he fell over on the healthy knee. It's unbelievable how this stuff has gone down for the 49ers.
And who threw that pass and where was it? Was it high?
That was one Brockle Dashel Purdy. I don't know what Brock's middle name is.
I like it. We should run with it. Look, again, I think Brock is going to be fine. But you just have to be able to objectively say in this game, he was sailing everything. Everything was high. Everything can't be high. Everything can't be low. Nothing seemed like it was on target. And when it was, Kendrick Bourne can't catch it.
Right, that was his best ball of the day. It was perfect.
I couldn't believe it. Like, and then the other drop with Bourne, he's standing 2 feet in front of him. This is like if I'm playing catch with my son with a football and he's 2 feet in front and I throw it as hard as I can at him. And then when he doesn't catch it, you got your hands on it. No, man, like let's throw the football like the right way, whatever. Also, I want to start putting it out there that not every single time someone touches the football means that they should catch it. I understand that they're professionals. I understand they're getting paid to catch footballs. In certain respects, them laying out and even putting a finger on a ball doesn't mean that was a catchable ball. The whole idea of, well, it hit your hand. Bet. You know what I want to do with some people? Let's go out and just play catch back and forth. Let's see how many you can just bring in if I just lob toss it to you. So let's show some grace when it comes to that. But I don't know what's going on. Look, in a short week, I don't expect Ricky Pearsall to play. I don't expect Juwan Jennings to play.
Nope.
Because now he has a shoulder, a rib, an ankle. Some would say he has 2 ankles. Some would say he has 2 shoulders. And it's all setting up for a Demarcus Robinson revenge game. And I can't believe that the 49ers are playing 5D chess in this way and setting this up. Now the 49ers are cooking with gas and thinking outside of the box, Rob Stats Guerrero.
But I do think that part of everything goes into the stew, right? You want to know why Brock Purdy hasn't looked like Brock Purdy? His superpower is knowing where his receivers are going to be and when they're going to be there, because he's an anticipatory thrower. Well, guess what? His receivers have been shuffling in and out. He's been shuffling in and out of the lineup. He's not getting the full amount of practice reps. They're not getting the full amount of reps. The worst thing you can do with Brock Purdy is stick him in a game with receivers that he doesn't have a lot of time with, because he can't use his superpower. And he doesn't have the arm to make up for it, to be a little late on a read and try and zip it in there. And so this is why you get some of the things that we've seen. Why do you think he's throwing to Ricky Pearsall 50,000 times? Because Ricky's the guy that he's been there the most with. So this is why, like, this combination of circumstances, I think, is specifically bad for Brock Purdy, because he can't use the thing that he does best.
So you just heard it here first, and this is breaking news, and I want everybody to clip this. Rob Stats Guerrero is saying that the 49ers savior this year is not Brandon Ayuk, it's not George Kittle, it's Jacob Cowing, because of them working out and everything. I want you to highlight real quick what Rod says. Shout out to Rod, our resident Rams fan. I think the 49ers are missing Deebo's grit. I hope that Deebo Samuel knows every single day how much I miss him.
Well, I will say that Levin texted me during the game and was like, I don't like the vibe of the offense. They seem down. They seem low energy. And he was kind of right. Like, they don't have anybody with like juice on offense, right? Like, Kittle has it when he's there. You get the ball to George Kittle, he'll truck 2 dudes, he'll get up, he'll bang his chest. The crowd goes nuts. He gets everybody pumped up. Without Deebo and without George, who's injured, of course, They don't have that guy on offense. Brock can be that, but if he's not connecting with his wide receivers and if they're dropping passes, he can't do that. And so they were low energy. It felt weird on Sunday. And it was literally the first question Kyle Shanahan was asked in the post-game presser, which of course he immediately denied, but I don't really care about that. It felt to me like they were missing that kind of juice that Debo and Kittle used to give that Debo and Kittle used to give them.
Filthy Casual says contract year Debo is the best Debo. Seeing Debo play well in Washington off of this contract, it was the easiest thing to predict. Stevie Wonder is not even shocked at this. At least I will say this: Kendrick Bourne has some really good handshakes.
I'm like, what are we doing with Kendrick Bourne?
Well, all right.
He sucks, man.
So here's the thing. This was all about vibes, right? Oh, they need to be having fun out there, and and Kendrick Bourne brings that. Okay, well, that is true. They do have fun. I don't care that he's having handshakes and he's dancing, to be honest, and I'm going to explain to you why. Would you prefer that he was just as bad at football as he was if he was as professional and never danced and anything like that? Is like, does that make you feel better that he didn't catch the football?
Right. You wouldn't care if he caught the football, you wouldn't care how much he danced. So
I don't care about any of that. Do what you want. Do what you want to do.
Right.
If you dance, don't dance. Catch the damn football. I don't care. Like I don't care. Like this idea that everybody's kind of dunking on him for like dancing around, and they're like, oh, look at him dancing but catch the football. Well, if he was professional and came in with a button-up suit and he said all the right things and he was business as usual, would it make you feel better that he dropped the football? No, it doesn't make me feel better.
Would you not be mad at him for dropping that pass on third down, which ultimately led to a punt, which then got returned for a touchdown to make it a 12-point game?
Guarantee you that nobody would have tweeted, well, at least Kendrick Bourne goes about his business the right way, even though he dropped that football. Like, come on, guys, come on. Who cares? Micah UA, the 49ers need to find Dr. Strange and get him to turn back time so they can stop NFL Thanos from snapping his fingers and injuring half the team. If I had a way to use the time stone to go back in time, it would be to tell Dre Greenlaw to walk off the sideline and not run off the sideline, and just say, hey, listen, just walk over to the huddle. Like, I'm going to walk you over to the huddle as well, too. And it would be to tell Spencer Burford to do his job and at least get in the way of Chris Jones so Juwan Jennings can walk into the end zone with that. That's what I would use the time stone to do, because no matter what happens this season, if everybody's injured, we still could at least say, hey, we won the big one in Las Vegas.
Literally, Dre Greenlaw is the exact moment I thought of when you were reading that comment. I was going to say I would pick him up and carry him into the huddle. That was the exact thing I was going to say, because I have always believed that if Dre Greenlaw played in that game and finished that game, that the 49ers would have won it. And the other moment I would have gone to is right before the 2-minute or right after the 2-minute warning on that third down play. And I would get in Brock's ear and I would say, throw it to Ayuk. Don't force it to Jennings. Those would be the two. If I had the time stone, that is exactly what I would do with it. And I would love to live in that branch timeline.
Speaking of that, did you watch Marvel Zombies?
No, I need to watch it. I'm behind.
So fire. Ending kind of left me a little, whatever, but so good. I loved it. You're going to love it. I think it's great. Anyway, do we have any more?
Yes, one more.
One more. Let's go.
Scheme or screwed? The coverage on special teams.
Screwed. Now look. If you want some positivity about the special teams, the San Francisco 49ers are literally playing the only team that is worse than them on special teams on Thursday, which is the Los Angeles Rams.
Really?
Now, if they are 29th in the league in expected points loss on special teams, the 49ers are 21st. Now, if you want a pathway to victory, I know it's probably not going to be Sky Moore. A big return, a special teams play, is how you steal games on the road. If you now have a special teams unit that is abhorrently worse than yours somehow, this has to be the game in which you make a play. What is it going to be? Block punt, block field goal, run back. This special teams unit that you are facing on Thursday is a bottom 3 special teams unit. And somehow your special teams unit is better. But that's us talking about the game. But that's your pathway to try to steal this game when you're undermanned, right? That's your pathway. Making plays here. That's how you steal points in this league. But this special teams unit, Brant Boyer, what do you do here? Is your job only to draft players that your son went to school with? Seriously, it doesn't matter. Is it Hightower? Is it the guy before? Is it Nick Sorensen? Is it this guy? The special teams. I can make an argument the special teams has been bad since Ted Ginn left.
Yes, which is the last time they had a punt return touchdown, by the way, was 2011. Whether it's
Correct.
Richard Hightower, whether it's Brian Schneider, whether it's Brant Boyer, they're worse in coverage than last year, Jay. They are worse in coverage. Hell, Eddie Pinheiro got bailed out because he almost kicked the ball out of bounds. And if the Rams returner was smart, he would have put 1 foot out of bounds and caught the ball. So they would have
Thank
got the
God.
ball yard line. I know. Thank God for that. Their punt coverage, obviously they gave up the touchdown. On the punt, they had guys just falling down, literally just falling, not getting blocked, just falling over. It was comically bad. They score the field goal right before halftime. The Niners do. And you're like, all right, you know what? It's going to be 1-score game and we're going to be okay. And then what happens? Immediate 54-yard kickoff return they give up that sets up the Rams to go steal a field goal of their own right before the half. It's maddening. And it's every single week. I am sitting there with my cheeks clenched every time the Niners punt and every time the Niners kick off. I'm like, please kick it out of bounds. That's how terrified I am. That's how bad they have been.
Iceman, we're going to get to your donation real quick, but I want to wrap this up with special teams and keep it on brand right here. Everybody watched on Monday night the Jets, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, Rob, in your untrained PFF eyes, are the Jets a good football team?
My untrained eye says no.
Okay. What did we watch them do on a punt in which, and this is my untrained, I played high school football for 2 months eyes because I played special teams because I wasn't going to be able to start, at wide receiver. I was 5'5" and skinny. When you are returning a punt, your feet are on the 10. If it's over your head, you don't even back up, let alone field it. You don't back up. You let it go over your head. Sky Moore, I'm talking to you. That led to, they won that game, but those are the type of little things. And my point is, when you watch the Jets do that, you say, oh my God, they're such a horribly coached team and they're so bad. Maybe we should start saying that about the San Francisco 49ers. Especially on special teams. Because you can't have it one way and say it the other. If you're going to laugh at the Jets for something like that, the 49ers do it every single week. And obviously the 49ers are a better team than them. The 49ers aren't a bad football team, but you get what I'm putting down here. If you're going to laugh at the Jets for how inept they are on special teams, then we've got to ask somebody what the hell's going on. So you mentioned sinking ship. I'm going to use that for the special teams. You plug up one hole with your finger by getting a kicker who can actually make kicks. But you know what? Coverage is coming through this side now. And you try to put that one and with that finger. Now you got two. But you know what just popped out? Your kickoff returner. He doesn't know what the rules are from the 10-yard line. Now that's it. And now you're up to your eyes in water. It's never going to change. It's not the coordinator. It's not the personnel. I don't know what it is. In the same way we can't explain what the injuries are, we cannot explain why this team is just inherently awful year after year on special teams.
It has to fall to Kyle Shanahan.
I would blame him as well too.
I get that Kyle's preference is, hey, you manage the defense, Robert Saleh. I don't want to have to think about it. You manage the special teams. I don't want to have to think about it. I'll put all my effort into the offense. I get that. And in a perfect world, that's exactly what I would want too, because that's where Kyle is best at. But you are the head coach. The entire football team is your responsibility, whether you want to accept it or not. Once the special teams has been this bad for this long, it's on you. It is your responsibility to either teach the meetings yourself or to grab Brant Boyer by the collar and shake him until he figures out how to coach it. But you have to fix it, period. You can't just ignore it, Kyle. You can't put your head under the pillow and pretend the monster can't see you. Like, it's killing your team.
Here's how we'll leave this. Either you're coaching it or you're allowing it.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, you deserve blame. Iceman, thank you for the donation, buddy. Jason, you need a specialty stream for comic shows, movies. Would love to, or at least movies for sure. Also, Peacemaker this season. They're going some really cool places with that, and I have to see this new DiCaprio movie. I don't know how. All of the illustrious career of Leonardo DiCaprio, this is the highest rated movie of his entire career. That is truly, truly saying something. Consider all the bangers that Leo's been in. But thank you for the donation, buddy, and I appreciate you, man. And JCG 1987, Puka over 175 receiving yards. My goodness, man, he is certainly playing like the best receiver in football this season, man. I know that you're being funny, but Puka is, and this is the perfect way to transition to the Rams game. In basketball, right? In other sports, there's something that you can't do with certain guys. You're not going to shut down certain guys because they're those guys. You have to limit everybody else. Puka's going to get his. It doesn't matter who he lines up, and he lines up everywhere. Slot, outside, inside. They hand him the football. They get him the football every single way. Puka's going to get his. There's no way that you're going to watch this game on Thursday and see that Puka Nacua ended this game with 17 receiving yards, and unless he got injured. It's just not going to happen. But you can't allow him to go for like 202 touchdowns and think that you're going to have a game. And this is the problem. And it just, he's going to do his thing. Can you slow down Devontae Adams? Can you slow down Kyron Williams and the running game? If you can't, it is going to be a truly horrible Thursday night football game.
Traditionally, if you go back and look, what has happened with the Rams against the 49ers in the games the Niners have won, the Rams have had a wide receiver that has gone nuts. Usually it was Cooper Kupp. He would torch the 49ers for like 120, 130, something like that, but he would be the only one. That is exactly what the 49ers would do. Are they going to be able to do that this week? I don't know. Sean McVay, I give him so much credit. The only two guys they throw to are Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua. That is it.
And Tutu Atwell to win the game against the Colts.
Yeah, when the Colts have 10 guys on the field and one of them falls down.
Listen to me. That's masterful. Never let them see your next thought. Like, why would you put 11 on the field if you could just put 10 on the field? They would never see that coming, Rob.
That can't happen to the 49ers when they're in the red zone, though, right? But it could happen for the Rams when they're backed up on their own 12-yard line with 90 seconds to go in the game. But sure, that's cool. But that is going to be the key for the 49ers. If it's Puka and he's going nuts, which, by the way, he's on pace for over 2,100 receiving yards this year, which is insanely good. And he blocks like a demon. But if they can limit Devontae Adams and limit everybody else, they got a shot because they've done it before. I don't know if they're going to be able to because Stafford looks really good. And the Rams are just absolutely rolling right now.
All right, Rob, we got a few minutes left. I've got good news for 49ers fans.
All right. Good.
I am, no matter who plays on Thursday, I am predicting a 49ers victory.
Wow.
What I am, and listen to me, 7.5 is easy money to take and put on the Niners and to actually cover that. Here's why. Now, what does this team resemble more than other teams? I don't think this team resembles the 2023 season. That team season was perfect. No. It resembles the 2020, 2021 49ers. Injured. Lost an atrocious game before this Rams game. No Nick Bosa in 2020. Backup quarterback Nick Mullins started in 2020. 2021, the San Francisco 49ers lose to Colt McCoy and the Arizona Cardinals and get their ass whipped.
Yeah, they did.
And the 49ers in a nationally televised game, 31-10, beat the Rams. Coming out party. So, sure, teams change and everything. But this feels just like exactly when everyone is ready to bury the San Francisco 49ers. How on a short week can they get this done? They're not going to have any of these guys that they'll exactly go out there and then all of a sudden they win. I want to point out some other things real quick. 2019, the San Francisco 49ers made the Super Bowl. They lost to the Atlanta Falcons. They won the next week to the against Los Angeles 34-31. In 2020, they lost to the New Orleans Saints, Nick Mullins, and the 49ers 23-20. 2021, 31-10 after the Colt McCoy lost to Arizona. 2022, they won twice off of losses to the Denver Broncos. Remember that game? The Jimmy Garoppolo pick 12, play at the, that game? We're buried. We're screwed. Jimmy Garoppolo's never good. 24-9. 34-13 after the ass whipping to the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, look, man, am I grasping at optimism? Sure. But you got enough negativity to go around on 49er social media, on 49er YouTube channels. And I get a lot of flack for being realistic and everything. I just have a feeling that this is a game where everyone is going to count out the 49ers and literally just say, how on earth are they going to win? And I think the 49ers really pull up and they shock some people, and they're definitely going to cover that 6.5, 7 spread. I think that the game's going to be very close.
Benali said the 49ers won games with Jimmy Garoppolo and the Rams had Aaron Donald. They'll be fine with Mac Jones. I think the Rams are going to kick the tar out of the 49ers. I think the 49ers are going to be embarrassed in this one. I think the Rams are really good. I just don't see it. How do you go into the game? Just no quarterback one, no wide receiver one, no wide receiver 2, no wide receiver 3, no tight end 1, no left guard 1, no edge rusher 1, no safety 1, potentially no cornerback 2. Like, what the hell? That is like an entire side of the ball against a really good team that doesn't have Jared Goff at quarterback, by the way. They have Matt Stafford. I think it's going to be ugly, and I think it's going to put a lot of pressure on the 49ers to win that game against Tampa Bay. Even if the Niners lose on Thursday, if they beat Tampa Bay, they'd be 4-2 after 6 games. Kittle would potentially be coming back. You'd be okay. But if you lose to the Rams after losing to the Jags, and then you lose to the Bucs, now you've completely given back your 3-game start at the beginning of the year. So they have to win one of these next 2 games. I just don't think they're going to win this one.
Division games are always weird. Very weird. Robert Saleh's angry. He's going to coach like the water boy. Remember when he sees across the field, he's going to see Liam Cohen's face. The familiarity between these two teams, the way that the 49ers have to win this game, and here's your path to it. Keep the Rams offense off the field as long as you can. Now, some of that has to do with running the football, but this game plan, regardless of whether it's Brock Purdy or Mac Jones, has to consist of short throws that are going to be extensions of the run game, and hopefully your receivers catch the football. I'm looking at you, Kendrick Bourne. But 17-play drives, 18-play drives that take up 8, 9, 10 minutes. You need a special teams play in this game. You need a turnover. I do think the 49ers are going to craft a much better way to get after the passer, because Stafford is going to drop back and throw the football, because why not? He's a very good quarterback, and so is Sean McVay. I think that, yes, I might be grasping at optimism, but I do see a path to this happening. And I have seen it before, especially when the San Francisco 49ers have been counted out as dead and gone out there and beaten Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay. Not Puka Nacua, but like you said, Cooper Kupp, absolutely dominating, right? Aaron Donald, protect the football, stay on the field on offense. Do not let them get on the field on offense. Limit their offensive possessions. Please, for the love of God, wrap up on special teams. Maybe you get a bounce your way and you can actually get a turnover in this game. That trend has to change. Right, Rob? And Stafford's going to throw you one. You gotta make sure you get it.
Remember in the game they played against the Rams in the rain last year, Stafford threw 3 picks that the 49ers dropped in a game they lost by 6 points. Fred Warner had 2 interceptions in his hands on Sunday against the Jags and couldn't bring them in. He also stripped a fumble. I don't know how that ball stayed where it stayed when Fred punched it out, but it did. Upton Stout, obviously, we know the PI call wiped out his interception. If you get your hands on the football, San Francisco, for the love of God, I don't care if it's stick 'em. I don't care what you got to do. If you got to visualize a roll of toilet paper out there, like in the movie Little Giants, since we're going with dated references.
I love it.
Get your hands on the ball and bring it in, because you can steal this game. Stafford will give you a couple of chances. He does it every game. Whether or not they catch them might be the difference.
To continue with the Little Giants stuff, now might be the time, Kyle, to run the annexation of Puerto Rico. And that perfectly works because Bad Bunny is going to be there at halftime as well, too. But yes, look, there's a pathway to this. I do believe, and I don't think the Rams are going to overlook the San Francisco 49ers. I think the NFL world has already buried the Niners. So, we'll see. But I do think that this is the type of situation in which the back's against the wall. The 49ers craft a game plan to help the offensive line by getting the football out with quick throws, whether it be screens, everything. Use that aggressiveness on that line against them. Use that. Stay on the field. Keep them off the field. For God's sakes, do have some good special teams. Do not turn the football over. Maybe you get a turnover. There's a path. There's a path. The San Francisco 49ers can win this game.
I just don't know if they're going to walk it. If you had to pick one of the problems that we talked about on today's show to get fixed on Thursday, what would it be? Would it be the special teams coverage? Would it be the red zone scoring issues? Would it be the run blocking? What would it be if you could only fix one of the Niners' issues?
If I could fix one on purpose and make sure that it's absolutely fixed, I think run blocking and red zone are inherently tied together. Because, running the football everywhere, it'll lead to that in the red zone. I just don't know if that's going to happen against the Rams, though. The Rams defense is very good. They are good against the run. They are going to do the same thing that everybody's been doing. When you look at that light box percentage number, that is such a flawed metric for when you're talking about this, because the 49ers are seeing a light box a 17.5% of the time, right? That would imply that nobody's up against. The safeties are flying down into the box. Just because they don't start in the box doesn't mean that they're not in the box. Mm-hmm. They're selling out to stop the run every single time. Now, you have to throw the football to loosen up that defense again. I just think that what I'm asking of the 49ers isn't out of the realm of possibilities, because please just don't turn the football over. Please come out with a game plan that is going to make you stay on the field and keep the Rams defense on the field. Please just make a play on special teams, because they are worse, far worse than you on special teams somehow. All of these things can happen. And then I do think Robert Saleh does craft a game plan in which you get your hands on a football this time and you actually catch it. The 49ers make enough plays. I think they can win this one.
I hope you're right. I just don't think you're going to be.
Hey, listen. Happy to be wrong. In this case, I'm not. But you know what else I want to say too? And I think this, again, maybe it doesn't mean anything. Maybe it means something. I really like what Kyle Shanahan said about what the plan was and how to prepare for this week. They're not dwelling on anything that happened last week because they can't. Like, you have to get right back in the saddle. Like, they've already been crafting this game plan since before this game ended on Sunday because of how quickly you have to get in it. So you're not in your head about what happened. Maybe Kendrick Bourne just forgets that he can't catch footballs. And he's just like, hey, listen, flush it and get out there. I do think that the short week can stand to benefit them, even if it doesn't from a health perspective.
Well, that could be true. They don't have time to dwell, because if you do, then you're definitely going to get your ass kicked. So flush it and move on. And you know what? If you can get a win, how nice would it be to get a win on Thursday Night Football? They'd have 3 wins in the NFC West, 4 wins on the season. And then you have 12 days for everybody to heal up, everybody to, get on the same page and recover and work on some of the issues that you've seen crop up over the first quarter of the season. They'd put themselves in such a good position going into that game against Tampa Bay. It would be incredible if they could get a win on Thursday.
You can call me a homer. You can call me somebody who's being unrealistic. But don't call me somebody who's not optimistic, because there's enough negativity to go around after one loss. By the way, I'll repeat it again. The 49ers are going to lose more games this season. So if you're having trouble with this one, Can't wait for them to lose to Cleveland and Jim Schwartz again, right? And how you guys are going to lose your minds to that one. But again, I have a feeling, I run on vibes. This podcast is a big vibes podcast. We probably the biggest vibes podcast on this podcast network. I don't think it's particularly close. So yeah, you know what, guys? There's negativity everywhere. Allow me to spread some optimism and allow me to use historical precedent. Allow me to use logic in ways that there's a pathway to the 49ers winning this game. And also allow me to use something that has no bearing on X's and O's. But the 49ers are probably going out there with a me against the world type of attitude because they know what everybody's thinking and saying about them.
I hope so. And I hope Kyle plays that up too. Like, he doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that does that stuff. And maybe he won't, but I hope Saleh does. I hope somebody does. That stuff is real, man. It is a real thing. All you got to do is, look at NFL history is littered with it. Look at Detroit. They use that stuff all the time. Play that up, especially when you don't have the more talented team, whether it's because of injuries or because of roster construction. Play that up, man. Squeeze all the juice from that orange.
That'll do it for this episode of Bully Ball on the Gold Standard Podcast Network. Appreciate all you guys. Hour 10. Appreciate you guys for joining. Make sure you drop a like and a subscribe on this channel and my channel as well too. Thank you guys for all your support. It doesn't go noticed. Unnoticed. Unnoticed. Yes, it goes noticed. Absolutely. Follow Rob on Twitter at StatsOnFire. Follow me on Twitter at JasonAponte2103. Subscribe to my YouTube channel too and everything, and look out for us and all our stuff on Twitter as well too. And subscribe to the Gold Standard Podcast Network wherever you get your audio podcasts. And also remember, promo code GSP on Sleeper to double your first deposit up to $100. Appreciate everybody for being here. For Rob, for Jay, we're out of here.
Peace.